Okay, so we're this is roughly what we're going to tie. This is a big fly. I've been doing some flies for Chris, who's going to be fishing for golden Dorado. This would fish for pike and musky and Lord knows what else. Big old bass. Using some newer materials, which I will go through. And whereas this fly does not have a bling tail, the one I'm going to tie, I'm going to do my best to include this.
Forked bling tail.
It's a forked bling tail.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like when the water's pulling on it.
And this is a great big Ahrex Predator stinger hook. And if I do believe I've grabbed myself a 6/0, which is a little bit much. You probably really want the 3/0. And you notice I'm kind of hanging onto this hook here. You know, everybody says, oh yeah, this vise, you can put a hook in it and it'll, you'll bend the hook before you bend the fly. Well, that's all true and well and good, except when you start getting into flies of hooks and flies and applying tension like this. And I've tied with many, many vices over the years, and there isn't one to date that I would refrain from just hanging onto that great big old hook when I'm really reefing out. These big flies, the hollow flies are even more so very physical in nature.
Hollow bucktails you're referring
to? Yeah. Hollow bucktail style fly. So here we are. And I remembered to get my bling tail here, and I'm going to put this on the way back. And of course, if you are concerned about it pulling out, which I am not, you could bend the wire, I suppose. But as Chris pointed out, there's no hook on that. Fish basically has no purchase on the bling tail. So if you use your super glue and your heavy duty thread, you're going to be just fine. Okay, there's my bling tail, and I use the terminology on the way back. That's when we're trolling for albacore and we've got one fly back 150 feet. That's called on the way back. But I guess back east, the way back could be 500 feet.
But I mean, you could tie that as short as you want. You could just have the bling tail and nothing else. We tied it back on this one because we're kind of looking at creating a lot of mass in general on the fly.
And I also want to use my new Hareline Iridescent Schlappen. I want this fly to really be a bold profile. That's why I've got a little bit of craft fur here. And you could use, I like yak hair. Yak hair it doesn't flow the way craft fur does, nor does bucktail. So I got my bling tail back here, and now here's the Iridescent Schlappen. Now somebody asked me, well, isn't that the same as just regular black Schlappen? It's not.
A little lower.
It's it is the feathers are longer, and they are really they're really full and thick, and a lot of Schlappen feathers are iridescent. These are especially so. And I'm going to get them about like that. And I'm actually going to tie on 2 on one side. I don't lose them. Now I'm deliberately facing these with the curve inward, so it will have a lot of wiggle. Now I'm going to bend over here without pulling my microphone out. So here's 2 feathers. Now, what's the right number of feathers? folks, is up to you. I like a couple on each side. And let me try to show you what I mean when I have both of these on here real securely. Did I get both of them there? Yeah, I did. Okay, so you see how that's curved, and these feathers are they're gonna pulse together and make a little bit more motion. Now I've got a little bit of super glue here.
How you doing?
Super glue never hurt the process. Now I've got some of this, what on earth?
All I have is felt.
Here we go.
So long, so long. I could have got off my dead ass.
This is a purplish color, very similar to angel hair,
They have a resale outfit
but it is hanked,
that specializes.
and so it's really easy to use.
Huh? Yeah.
And it is different than using Flashaboo, and frankly, this stuff, I'm going to be using this most likely also on my steelhead intruders. So that's kind of a big, so there we're real secure. Got our tail on there, not going anywhere. Now I'm going to add, I was just looking up to see if the record button was on. So now I'm going to use 3 brushes here in succession. And here they are. 1, 2, 3. And these are the Flash Blend baitfish brushes in the 1-inch, 2-inch, 2-inch. And the first one is really just to kind of manage the tail and the flash. It doesn't stand up very much, and it doesn't need to. I'm just putting this on to help keep those tail feathers and that bit of flash going the way it's supposed to.
Have a nice taper transition.
Yes, and it does provide a nice little taper. So we're gonna, and you see how I had a very thick base there with the craft fur and the Schlappen and the flash, and now we've come down to fairly slim. So there we go, flow orange, and there is a little bit of flash in this. And the combination of orange and black is one that is very popular fishing for golden Dorado. And I just want to make sure I had a long enough piece of wire in there that it's not going anywhere. And I'm going to bring this up, not quite to the eyes. Now this is a fly that's going to push a lot of water, and it's going to be very, very visible in any kind of water you name, any kind of day. You may not be able to see these colors if you fish this fly at night, but it's going to push water and announce its presence to whatever predators are lurking nearby. Now, do I have to brush this stuff every time around? I don't know. I find I think I have better success with any of the brushes I use by using my little finger dub brush. But you may find that you don't need it. You may find that you work just as well with the point of your scissors. I think that's kind of an individual taste situation. And so you put a little dab of super glue on. The fish that chew on these things are serious. They have serious teeth. And when you're in the jungle, unless Chris has a few extra flies, you're not going to be able to.
Which you've done. You've tied me more flies than I could use for the rest of my life on that trip. Thank you.
No, $20 a piece, that's
Well,
all, that's all I can
deal.
say.
Now, all those brushes could be cut down, of course.
That's correct.
And I think this year's batch of some of these newer brushes we're using is different. I really do, because they seem to wind easier. They have less thickness on the brush, so a different dubbing brush, wire diameter, and then just a better density. You know, not too dense, so they're impossible to tie off. For example, some brushes that become just cumbersome and bulky because of their size.
So, Chris, you've opened the door to a very long, complicated discussion. And so what I'd say, I mean, yes to everything. What I think is going on is that in general, the brush creation industry is going to finer diameter wire, more twists per inch, and they are refining the thickness, the density, the sparseness of their brushes. And when I say refining, that doesn't necessarily mean they're all going to be sparser. Some, for example, a craft fur brush an EP craft fur brush. By the way, while I'm talking, you could fish this fly right like this. Stylistically, I'm going to trim a little bit.
Because on a lot of the Dorado patterns that we were looking at, that's a spun deer hair head.
That's right.
And you know, whether you like to spin hair or not, it is time consuming, and these brushes do a great job to...
And these things are durable.
Yeah, really durable and eliminate that hair.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks great.
So, you know, like an EP craft fur brush is very sparse, very slender. Some of the fair flies brushes are very, very dense. Invader brushes, kind of in between. You've got crustacean brushes and all these things. They all have, some of them are, you know, very multiple purpose. Some of them are kind of specialized. And if you want a denser or more sparse brush, you can give us a call here at the shop, and we'll help you sort through it, because it's something we're constantly experimenting with as we go. Okay, so here we have our finished fly. Oops, one more thing. Since I wasn't using the proper black thread, I don't want to scare the Dorado off with that white thread on the head. Could happen. So let me try to show you this fly. There we have it. Beautiful golden Dorado fly with Schlappen and fur and brushes and a bling tail. It's going to cast very decently. Going to have just a little bit of sink. It's going to bring the big ones home. Thank you for joining us.